Hello, and welcome to the Homeschool Well podcast this week. Jenny and I are both here today.
Hello, mamas.
Hello, Miss Jenny. And so we have been focused on bringing you some tidbits and golden nuggets from one of our pre recorded workshops in our membership for our community of moms that we always welcome you to join around the well with us. We're continuing with topics from the workshop titled Homeschooling Made Easy, Simple Strategies for Everyday Success. And we're going to focus on 3 teaching tips that are going to empower you to either turn around a day that's going bad, and you'll gain insight for your planning to make it a more efficient flow. I'll tell you what they are, and then we'll go into detail about them. The first one is scaffolding. The second one is wait time. And the third one is being a student of your child. Once you realize the strategy behind these 3 tips, they will literally become power moves in your day so that you can change things around if things are going bad. Don't you
Yeah.
think, Jenny?
Yeah, that's good. I like
Yeah.
that power moves. Yeah, it's like your little toolbox that you have. And
Yes, that's
when things
better.
start to go south, like you can remember these,
Yes,
and even you can remember these to prevent things from going south. Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah, this is what we use in our classroom and with our kids, and we should have used them more
I
often.
know. And sometimes you forget until you're like kind of backing up and thinking about it or reflecting on it with someone. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I don't have to do all these things, or I can try this.
I have a
That's right.
toolbox. Yes, I have a toolbox. And I have a power move. When you feel like things are going out of control, I literally used to get this like goosebumps on the back of my neck when I felt this way.
Mhm.
Like, they're taking over. Like pretty soon they're going to be on top of me, like all the little people in Gulliver's Travels when they had him roped down. I would literally feel like that. Like,
That's fun.
I okay, out of control. I need to gain control again.
That's
But
funny.
it doesn't have right? It doesn't have to be this like big mean mommy power
No.
move. It can be using some of these teaching tips that we're talking to you
Mhm.
about. And even if it's not a burdensome moment in your day, these are just smart ways to be good teachers.
Right.
So
Teach
here we
right,
go.
teaching tips from teachers. And
Yeah.
I was gonna say, when you said you used to get goosebumps on your neck and like feel like you're out of control, for me, I would literally my shoulders would go up to like my ears
Crunch
and I'd
them.
be like, I would feel like a thermometer like in the cartoons where you're
Yeah.
gonna blow up. I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is not good. But
I hate
yeah,
it.
I know.
Like something's coming and it does
It's
something
it's
bad
a
feels like it's on the
volcano.
horizon.
It's gonna explode. So I gotta get out of here. I had to go walk around or lock myself in the room. But
And get your teaching tools
that's
out.
right.
That's
That's
right. All
right. And
right.
the
Let's go.
first one is scaffolding. And that is like a teachery term that we learned about in college. And if you went to school to be
Mhm.
a teacher, you've heard about that before. But it's really just where like you're keeping the child in the sweet spot of their learning. And so, like, I always think about, like, when I explain this to parents, where I'm tutoring their kids or, when I was at a parent conference, I would tell them it's kind of like when your child learned to walk, you didn't just pick them up and put them down and give them a big push and tell them to do it by themselves, right? It was a gradual
No.
process. Sometimes you were holding on to their wrists while they were walking, and then they were holding on just to your like pinky when they were walking, and then you would kind of like let go, and then they would start to wobble, so you'd grab them again, and you were constantly like grabbing them, letting go, grabbing them, letting go. And that's what scaffolding is, or riding a bike or any of those things. Like you're just keeping the child right there in their perfect learning spot. So it's not too hard, it's not too easy, but it's just right for them. When you're thinking about how your homeschool day is going to go, my child would put on the brakes, and Kibbs did too, with reading. And they'd be like, no, I'm not doing this. And we knew that they needed a little push, but we weren't going to be like, no, you're going to do this whole thing by yourself. You're going to read this whole chapter. Do it. Don't come out of the room until you do, something like that. Instead, with my son, one of the ways I scaffolded his reading was just to say, here, I'm going to read this first page of the first chapter to you. and then you're going to read the next page to me. And then if you get tired, I'll take a turn and you can take a turn. And I wasn't letting him do whatever he wanted. It was totally okay with me within my boundaries to say it's okay for us to take turns. And so that's what we're going to do. I was modeling how to read for him. We were talking about the book, so he was getting great comprehension. So that's just where he was. He was around 8 or 9 at the time. And the idea of a chapter book was just really overwhelming to him. So we kind of held hands through it until he could do things like that by himself. So that's one example. Another one I had in writing was, and I notice kids do this too, like they'll sit there with a blank page, but you can say, well, how might you start this story? Might you start it like blah, 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 and you give them the first couple words. You could start a sentence like that. So those were just some
Yeah, you
ways
you tell them the first few words. You're actually writing down the beginning of the story for
you
them.
could. Yeah, or I was just telling him, "Here's how you could start it." Either way, it depends, yeah.
Assistance at the beginning. So, boom, just get started, get rolling, and let me help you. And here's some words you can use. I can write them, or you can write
Mhm.
them.
And I'll jump in and out
I
if you
love
need
that.
me to, or sometimes they just go, like riding a bike, they just take off and they're good? You don't know.
Yeah. And here's another example of scaffolding with math when they are first introduced to decimals. You can weave that into giving a tip at a restaurant,
Mhm.
because that's pretty easy. 10, 15%, 20%. That's pretty easy to figure out. So that's another
Yeah.
example. Say, oh, you do know this. Remember, we've been at a restaurant and I've tipped before, and let me, give you that example first, and then we'll get to this more abstract
Mhm.
example. So teaching them something, and just like Jenny's example, like holding their hand before you just, expect them to be able to walk for the first
Mhm.
time. Like start with something that they already know before you learn a new content, and stay in that sweet spot of their learning.
Mhm. That's that's huge, and I feel like sometimes parents go, "Well, wait, if I'm reading the first page to him, like, it's like cheating."
I
Right?
was just going to say cheating.
Yeah, it's like
Yes,
cheating.
it's
Wait,
not.
then he's not doing it. I'm doing it. I'm helping too much.
No,
No, there are no rules
nope.
about this. Like this is not there are no rules
And
anywhere.
this is a teacher strategy. So you model a skill
Right.
first,
Yes.
you do it with them, you do it together,
Right.
and then they do it on their own.
Right.
And then you're constantly going through that flow though. When they're doing it on their own, they're going to fail, and you're going to come back to the modeling
Right.
again. You're going to come back to the scaffolding all the
That's
time.
right.
So
It's
no,
not
you're not
cheating.
cheating. It's okay. That's
Jinx.
what being a teacher is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. The second one is wait time.
Mm.
And if I were to be quiet right now for 20 to 30 seconds, it would be painful. You guys would turn it off. It would be bad.
Mhm.
But honestly, a lot of kids and adults
Mm.
need at least like 15, 20, sometimes 30 seconds of silence after you ask a question in order for them to process the answer. Not only with your mouth, but with your body after you ask your kids a question, because there's a way to make your body look like, geez, kid, just give me the answer
Right.
already. An adequate amount of wait time is so important, and it's going to differ. And you should talk, for each kid, and you should talk to your kids about it. How much time do you want me to wait? Or what can I do to help you answer this question? Or, maybe they need to wait before they answer and process a little bit more, right? Instead of just blurting out something just to answer the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
Be thoughtful.
wait time is so important, and it's so hard when your kids keep getting the wrong answer. I have a funny story, and I'm going to try and make it really quick, but it's so hilarious. I had the sweetest little boy named Chris. This was so long ago. It's like when I first started teaching, and I was really trying to learn the concept of wait time. So he was put in my life for this whole moment, this whole process of teaching me. But anyway, he could not spell his name. I mean, we tried so many different things to get him to spell his name. And one time I was working with him on that whole method of, you see his letters, and then you have the little letter tiles, and he slides them up, and he's literally just
Matching.
matching. And we're saying C, and he's sliding up the C and saying C, and he's sliding up the H and saying H. And I'm telling you, the amount of time that it took between each letter for him to slide the thing up and repeat after me, it was so long. I was counting so much. And then he would say the wrong letter. so many times in a row. And I was like, I love you, kid. I love you so much. I need to take a deep breath and go get a drink of water and we're gonna try something different. But it was so cute because he was so happy to just have an answer.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
He didn't know that
Aw.
it was right or wrong. Like he was super, super sweet. And the fact that he just had an answer for me made him so happy. And we just sat there and laughed. And he laughed with me because I couldn't it was just that dynamic with a student like that who's has these unique challenges
Mhm.
that you're not going to say, "Gosh, you're wrong
Right,
again."
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to do something different. And I just remember it being the funniest thing because we just both started cracking up. He was reacting to me and I was trying not to be like punitive because he kept getting it
Right,
wrong because obviously he needed me to do it a different
right.
way or something. But then in between that whole, exchange was so much wait time,
Yeah,
but it taught me a lot about that. So whenever I have a challenge, and I hope you guys can think of that
yeah,
too, you can think of little Chris
yeah.
pushing up the C and saying I for
It's respectful.
and then yes, and just being so happy that he
Yeah.
had an answer, and I was just like, it's a C. Okay, let's try it
I think
again.
wait time is respectful, and it, like, it's respectful
Yes.
to your kids, and it lets them
Mm,
know,
I like
and
that.
it keeps them from getting frustrated. You're the adult. You should not be the one getting frustrated. Wait,
Mhm,
did I say that right? You're the adult. Yes, you should not be
mhm.
the one getting frustrated, and you should not be frustrating them, right?
That's right.
I don't know. I don't
That's
think
so
that came
fun.
out the way I wanted it to, but that's
No,
okay.
I think it did. I think it
Okay,
did. I think we are the
that's
adults.
right.
Okay, so this kind of leads
Yeah,
this leads into the next point
right.
very well.
Yeah.
This is Jenny saying, I think you made this up, Jenny. It's so clever and smart. Be a student of your child.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've tutored a ton and then I've worked one-on-one with a bunch of kids and I was able to have reading recovery training is what it was called actually. And they taught you how to study this child. You were watching their eyes. You were sitting on the left side of them to talk into their ear because that was supposedly you could hear better on that side and it would like go to your
Wow.
brain better. Like there were all these things that we learned.
Wow.
Went through an entire year of training. You were studying, are they right or left-handed? How do they hold their pencil? How do they make their letters? Where are their eyes looking when they're talking and writing and reading? Sometimes their eyes were not even on the page. They're reading.
This is like the detailed nuances
Yes.
of the student, of your child.
Yeah, so tutoring online is not as great because you can't see that as well. But when you're right next to a kid, you're watching everything about them so that you know what their next move is going to be or what they're not noticing about reading or about the print. And so that really taught me to like study my kids. And you can see when they're getting frustrated or when they're closing their
Mm.
eyes and they're like, So
Mm.
that was really, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Putting their hands I just put my hands in
yeah.
front of my eyes. That happened a lot when I was going through this test season.
Oh, really?
When I was doing all the achievement
Yeah.
testing, I could tell when a kid was, like, hitting their ceiling
Right.
because they would literally look away, put their hands in front of their eyes
Oh,
and, like, squeeze things, and I was like, "You know what?
yeah.
We're almost done." I'd have to say
Break.
they would physically be able to show your kids are physically like subconsciously, I guess is the
Uh-huh.
word we're looking for here. They're showing you like when they're hitting a ceiling, when they're frustrated, when they need a break,
Right.
and what is our job to do then?
Yeah.
What do we do?
Well, give them a break or stop.
We
That's
listen.
right. You listen. And the other thing that you always say is like when to get out of their way. Like not just when they're hitting a wall and like ready to quit, but when are
Mm.
they like loving this and they're ready to just take off or build this thing themselves or whatever. Like when to get out of their way and just let them do their thing, right? We need to
Yeah.
be noticing those things about kids. And again, so that we're finding their exact sweet spot. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
not too hard. It's not too easy. It's just right for them.
And the other thing about the building something and wanting to, like they're loving it, there's the opposite of that too, that they're failing at it, but they don't need you to swoop in and do it for them
Oh, yeah.
because fail is the first attempt in learning,
Right.
first attempt in learning. And so, no, don't swoop in and do it for them and fix it and make it work. They're going to test it out. It's not going to work. And then they need to go back and problem solve and figure out how to make it work,
Right. Yeah.
right? Or let them make a mess.
Right.
One of my favorite stories, I did a whole podcast about, I think it was just one of those quick 3-minute podcasts, but
Mhm.
is let them make a mess and learn things from
Yeah.
it. One time we had a little get together at our house with the moms club. I think my Anastasia was like 3, they were real little. And she had a drawer full of all kind. It was this huge drawer on the bottom of her twin size bed, like a trundle,
Yeah.
but we didn't have a mattress in
Right.
it. So we would put stuffed animals, costumes, whatever ended up in that drawer. They would like get in there for hide and seek. It was just this coolest, all the cool things were like in the drawer. So one of the moms came to me and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My girl just took out everything in the drawer. I'm so mortified." Like she was horrified with her daughter. And I'm like, "Girl, it's okay. How else is she going to know what's in the drawer?" Like we do that all the time. They take it all out, they put it back in. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like a treasure hunt in there. You got to take everything out and make a mess to find what it is, and then you have a whole lesson on, okay, it's
Yeah,
cleanup time.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. Like, get out of their way and let them learn. Like, sometimes they just need to
Yeah.
explore, do it themselves, and, even if it's messy, even if they're failing at it, obviously, you don't want them breaking down if they're failing, but, like, just they're gonna fix it. They're
Another,
figuring it
hey,
out. Yeah.
exactly. And it's another teachable moment where
Mhm.
you can say to them, then you go back to your scaffolding. I will help you,
Yeah.
but you don't want me to do this for you
Right.
because you're going to be able to figure it out. I know you can do
Yeah.
it. And this requires you, mommy, to pray for the Holy Spirit
Yeah.
to give you the ability to be flexible, to be able to modify, what you're doing in your time constraints and really lean into those teachable moments. Your kid needs a break, it's respectful to listen to them and do it because the curriculum is not the master of
Right.
you, right? You are the master of the curriculum.
Mhm.
It does not master you or your
Right.
child. So being human and noticing that your child has these nuances and subconscious things that they're going to give you signals, and you want to be able to pay attention to those and respond to them. And when you don't, because we are human and we are going to make mistakes, and then we say, "Oh gosh, I'm sorry,"
Mhm.
and let's do better next time. And
Mhm.
maybe you can empower them with some words to say, "Hey, I've hit a wall.
Mm.
Boom! I need a break," or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Give them some tools to articulate it to you. Yeah. Teach
Yes,
them to
that's very
communicate
important.
their needs. Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
I like it.
Mhm.
All right. I think that's it today. So
Mhm.
those teaching tips, I think you can tell those are things that really you can apply throughout your days to make things easier and simpler. And again, they are scaffolding, wait time, and being a student of your child. All right, next week we will cover the third point about giving your kids choices and all the things that go along with the freedom to do that to help them learn well. So tune in next week for a whole new episode about how to make homeschooling easier and simpler. We love it.
And if you want more of this content, we have all of these classes in our membership. And because you're a podcast listener, you can go to thehomeschoolwell.com and sign up for our membership. And remember to use the code podcast50, which gives you half off your first month in the membership, which it makes it only like $13. So it's definitely worth it. You get to
Yay.
meet with us every week, talk to us. And so we hope to see you there. So that's thehomeschoolwell.com, and we will see you next week.
Bye
Bye.
bye.